Hello and welcome to GameSack. The 3DS was released on the same day that the very first episode of GameSack was shot, so that means it's pretty old. But it was quite an interesting system. In fact, it was Nintendo's final device dedicated solely to the portable market. So I figured we could cover a lot of games that were made for the handheld. But first, a little bit about the 3DS itself. The Nintendo 3DS released in the US on March 27, 2011 at a price of $250. Like its predecessor, it features two screens. The top one is wider and displays in 3D without the need for any glasses thanks to the lenticular parallax barrier. The bottom display retains the touchscreen functionality of the original DS. The unit also has front and back cameras. The latter can take pictures in 3D. Initially selling poorly, the price was quickly lowered to $169 in the US. Early adopters were made part of the Nintendo Ambassador program, which gave them 20 free games for the NES and Game Boy Advance to play on the system. Powering the 3DS is a dual-core ARM11 running at a blazing 268 MHz, 128 MB of RAM, and screen resolutions of 400 by 240 per eye for the top screen and 320 by 240 for the bottom screen. The handheld is also backwards compatible with games for the regular DS. All in all, the 3DS was a popular system, selling nearly 76 million units worldwide with nearly 2,000 games released. Alright, now let's get into the games. I had my new 3DS XL modded for video output, so every game you see is being played on this beefy bad boy right here. And let's start with the games that I bought on launch day with the system. I purchased Pilotwings Resort on launch day with my 3DS. I loved the previous games on the Super NES and the Nintendo 64. This one's mostly like the one on the N64, only the island looks a lot better here and the draw distance is quite good. The gameplay is basically the same, fly through rings and balloons or what have you. Then land successfully and try to score as many points as you can. It's a very relaxing game, though it can be pretty tense when you miss the one thing that you need to get 3 stars on a course. There are a lot of different challenges here that should keep you busy for a while. There's even a free flight mode where you can choose the time of day and find different secrets around the island. The bottom screen shows the map at all times, which can be moderately helpful on occasion, and you can resize it by tapping it. The graphics are about what you'd expect, so I can't say that they disappoint. The 3D effect is nice. The music is relaxing and generally pretty good, though I do slightly prefer the stuff heard in the Nintendo 64 game. Be sure to check this one out, unless you'd rather not. I also picked up Super Monkey Ball 3D with my system since I'm a huge Monkey Ball fan. You can use the circle pad or motion controls. I've never tried the motion controls and I will never try them. I feel sorry for the game tester who had to test that mode. You have 8 worlds with 10 stages each, one of which is a bonus stage. Not a whole lot of gimmicks here. There are some switches as well as ground that will slow your roll, but that's about it. Overall, this is a fairly decent Monkey Ball game which suffers from one flaw. It's extremely easy. I think I only played it twice before I beat the entire game. The first time was just fooling around with it a bit after I got back from the store, and the second time was a serious play session. Hell, this might only be the 3rd time I've played it. Now don't get me wrong, there will be a little bit of challenge for you here and there, but nothing that you won't be able to overcome after a couple of tries. And you need to make it to World 6 or higher before any of that presents itself. The graphics are fine for a game in the series. The 3D effect is okay. There's a lot of stuff that pops out of the screen, and many people don't like it when 3D effects do that. You certainly won't be missing out by turning the 3D effect off. The music starts out kind of boring, but soon gets pretty damn good. There are only 2 minigames here. First is Monkey Race. This is kind of a kart racer, and honestly it isn't anything noteworthy. The other is Monkey Fight. This presents itself as kind of a Smash Brothers style of game. I wish Monkey Target were here, that would be great in 3D. Overall, this is a great game if you're not super skilled at Monkey Ball. I also bought Ridge Racer 3D on launch day just because I wanted to have something else to play. As a game, you've probably seen a lot of this before if you're a fan of the series. It borrows tracks from most of the previous games. In fact, it only has 3 original tracks. That doesn't mean it's a bad game though, it plays quite well. The Nitro system returns from the PSP games, though you can change its style by buying different versions. Of course, the drift mechanic is back in full force and it's easy to do, even easier if you engage the drift button. The bottom screen just shows an overhead map of the track and you can touch it to switch views. You can also touch the camera button to choose one of 2 different views for the main screen. Graphically, it's not as good as the PSP games. Here, you're limited to 30 frames per second. Otherwise, it looks similar, but with less dithering. The 3D effect is quite good, though I definitely had to dial the slider back a bit for this one. I like the 3D effect of the water splashing on the screen. The music doesn't stand out like it did in the previous games, and the announcer talks so much that you'll shut her off after a few races. I don't regret buying this one, but I never got hugely into it, only playing for about an hour and a half. By the way, do you like my profile picture? Bringing over games from previous platforms and modifying them with 3D and whatnot was a popular thing to do on the 3DS. This next game is but one example. This is Star Fox 64 3D. This basically is Star Fox 64 redone in 3D for the 3DS, just like you'd imagine. The game looks a lot nicer, but basically it's good old Star Fox 64. That means it's fun, though I find the free-roaming stages much less exciting than the on-rails stages. Even on the new 3DS XL, I find this map too small to be useful. Overall, it looks a lot nicer and some of the 3D effects pop out of the screen. This looks odd and wrong whenever something that pops out clips on the edge of the screen. Keep it in the frame if you're going to have stuff pop out. Or just play it in 2D and don't worry about any of that. The bottom screen is used for the constant chatter.
Do a barrel roll.
Sometimes you even need to touch it. In my opinion, the bottom screen would be much better used for the map on the free roaming parts. Still, this is a very nice looking game and a complement to the original Star Fox 64, but not a replacement for it. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time also got a 3D remake. Majora's Mask did as well. The graphics are much better and redone quite nicely, though the audio is the same. At least it seems the same to me. However, I found the 3D rather distracting and it wasn't long before I just turned it off. It's probably been 25 years since I've played this. The original version, I mean. I recall playing it for a while and then I got stuck in a dungeon somewhere. I was then probably distracted by a new PlayStation game or something as I never came back to it. But at least now you have an explanation as to why I'm sucking so hard as I'm playing this. Here's Shinobi from Sega. Yep, just Shinobi. This is the third game, in fact, to be called exactly that. This is a pretty cool 2.5D action platformer presented in 3D on the 3DS. Gotta admit though, the game doesn't make the best first impression. The controls are a wee bit overcomplicated. For example, you need to press X to jump up and down levels unlike just the regular jump button in any other game. Why? You also have a parry button. I usually dislike pressing a button to block or parry, so I usually just don't do it. Thankfully, it's not super important here. After you get through the first stage, which lasts nearly half an hour, you'll become more familiar with the controls and you'll feel a lot better about the game. And that's when it all starts to become more enjoyable. The game isn't easy, but you do have unlimited lives. You'll need them, and you'll always want to keep trying. You have 4 ninja magics to power yourself up that you can select via the touchscreen. You even get some stages where you're riding on a horse or a vehicle to break up the platforming areas. These can be really fun, and it's a nice break, even though they controlled the same. The graphics are perhaps a bit too dark. The 3D effect is very well done, and honestly, I think it helps make the game look a lot better than it does in 2D. It looks kind of plain and dreary in 2D. But the 3D lighting effects are really cool. The music is well done, though it isn't anything super memorable. All in all, this is a much better Shinobi game than the ones that were on the PlayStation 2. Well, except for the music. The music in those games kicked ass. Still, this is a fantastic 2D action game for the system that very few people seem to mention. Here's Yoshi's new island from our Zest and Nintendo. Yeah, this isn't that lame old island, this is all new. It plays more or less like the original on the Super NES. You have Baby Mario on your back. If you get hit, he floats around and cries until you grab him again. If you don't get him fast enough, he's captured by the bad guys, and then none of the Mario games can ever exist. Mario's crying isn't quite as annoying here as it was in the first game, but it's still annoying. You gulp up enemies and some of them can be pooped out as eggs. You can use these eggs as projectile attacks. In this game, Yoshi can swallow some big enemies by rapidly pressing the tongue button. He can then instantly poop out a giant egg which can be used to smash through barriers and whatnot. Yoshi's digestive tract is crazy. There are different kinds of giant enemies to swallow which result in different kinds of giant eggs. There are also several bonus-style stages where you control it by physically rotating or moving your 3DS around. These range from kinda fun to kinda not fun. No matter what, they do feel a bit tacked on, like they're trying their hardest to make it unique to the 3DS. I wouldn't say that these stages are unwelcome or anything, they're just a little out of place. Overall, the gameplay is fine, but I think I'd rather play the original game. It featured much more interesting level design. The graphics here are nice, and they do their best to have a similar style to the first game. The 3D looks decent, but again, it's something that adds very little overall. This would be a good one to get if you got it for cheap. It's Mario Golf World Tour from Camelot and Nintendo. This is a pretty good game of video golf, and if you played the other Mario Golf titles, then you'll pretty much know what to expect here. The main issue that this game has is that it's a dual screen game, which of course is to be expected. Your swing meter is on the bottom screen, and it's odd taking your eyes off of the top screen and looking down at it. The gap between the screens does not help things here. As a result, I recommend playing this game in 2D, as your eyes will adjust a hair more quickly when making that transition. The 3D effect looks good, but it's not worth it. There's lots of information on the bottom screen, and you can even use it to play the entire round if you'd like, instead of pressing those pesky physical buttons that everyone hates. You have the typical 2-click gameplay of Mario Golf, but if you prefer 3-click gameplay like I do, just change it from easy to manual on the bottom screen. There are lots of cool courses to unlock here. If you need some cute golf on the go, this will certainly do.
Dippin', birdie.
Yahoo! Yay! Yes!
Okay, I know you're asking, are there any Mario games on the 3DS? Well, believe it or not, there are. I already showed Yoshi's New Island being played on my new 3DS, but how about some proper Mario games? Well, that's coming up next, along with one Mario adjacent title. Here's Super Mario 3D Land from Nintendo. This basically tries to combine the 2D Mario gameplay with the 3D Mario gameplay, at least that's what was said about it. Make no mistake, it's a full-on 3D platformer. You run around, jump, kill enemies, collect coins, and get power-ups. You know the drill. This is a Mario game from Nintendo, so there's certainly no way that this is going to be bad. And it's not. The controls can feel a little bit rough, but they're certainly good enough to deal with what the game dishes out. It's just that I wish there were a Pro controller for the 3DS, because even with the new 3DS XL that I'm using here, the buttons are all too small, and the circle pad doesn't feel as nice as the analog stick on basically any normal controller. Oh well, that's the price we pay for having a system that can fold up the way that it does. Regardless, I managed to beat it, and there's plenty of challenge in the higher levels. The music is the same stuff you've heard 1,000 times before, but of course it's good stuff. The 3D effect is generally pretty good, and the game tilts downward a lot to take advantage of the depth effects. This is still a great game that you can't go wrong with unless you've played these types of Mario games too many times. There was also new Super Mario Bros. 2. This is your typical 2D Mario game, but in 3D. A girl has been kidnapped and you need to rescue her. It plays mostly like the new Super Mario Bros. Games on the DS and the Wii, but with a few new levels and a couple of small new gimmicks. For example, you're encouraged to collect tons and tons of coins in this one. It almost feels like a Sonic game in that regard. I haven't played this one until right now, and honestly, I got bored quickly. Not because it's a bad game, because it certainly isn't. It's just that I feel that I've been here and done this new Super Mario thing too many times now. I wish this one would play like old Super Mario Bros. 2. You know, the Western Super Mario Bros. 2 on the NES. That would have made this game feel more fresh compared to the others in the new series. They really should have done that. Now I'm disappointed. The graphics are similar to the other games, bright and colorful, but not much makes this stand out visually from the previous entries. The 3D looks nice, but it in no way affects the gameplay. The music is the same, and it feels like they didn't bother to change it much at all. Mario constantly refers to himself in the third person.
Oh yeah, Mario time!
He's stupid. If you haven't had your fill of the new Super Mario Bros. Games yet, then I definitely recommend it. If I hadn't played the other games before I played this one, I'd absolutely love it. This is Mario Kart 7 from Nintendo. If you've played Mario Kart before, and I'm betting that you have, you basically know what to expect here. And you know it's gonna be good. Basically, what you want to do is collect items and cheese your way to victory. This one lets you build your kart by selecting from items in 3 different categories. In addition, you can glide through the air with an automatic hang glider attachment, and you can also operate underwater as you're completely submersible. Like Mario Kart DS, the bottom screen acts as an overhead map, and it can be good to see items coming in to ruin your day, helping you to avoid them if you can. When something's on your tail, it sounds like Nintendo left their old analog phone off the hook for too long. Remember that noise? You have the popular balloon battle mode to partake in, as well as a coin battle mode if you get sick of balloons. So yeah, overall it's a great game just like you'd expect, but I do have a couple of very small gripes with this one. First, when you go underwater, it feels like you're underwater. Everything is slightly slower. It could certainly be worse, but feeling the game slow down a little bit because of this never adds to the fun. Secondly, while most of the music is quite good, some of it sucks pretty hard. like Rosalina's ice stage. What the hell is this supposed to be? So this is definitely a good game, but it's certainly not my favorite Mario Kart game. I like the one on the regular DS more. Here's Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which is the second game in the series. The Dark Moon has been shattered, and now the ghosts are evil. Only you can collect all of the Dark Moon's pieces. It's similar to the first game in that you vacuum up ghosts and items. But here, there are multiple different mansions to explore with many different missions each. Some fans of the original were a bit let down with this one, but since I didn't play the original a whole lot, I like this one for what it is. The basic premise of the gameplay is going room to room, trying to find keys, items, or otherwise trigger access to later rooms. Depending on the particular mansion, you'll have to do certain things, like melting the ice that's frozen this door shut. Sometimes you'll get to suck up ghosts, which is really fun to do. You have to stun them with your flashlight first and then turn the vacuum on and pull against them, then hit the A button. Naturally, each mansion has a boss fight, and these guys are all really fun to figure out. You have an in-game DS to help you out on your adventure. The bottom screen provides a map and access to other things. The old professor guy contacts you a lot in this game. He's your radio buddy, and he's also very chatty, and you have to use the touchscreen to access him. The graphics are excellent and rival the GameCube original. The 3D sinks into the screen, and I found that it had a lot of ghosting, no pun intended. The 3D can look nice, but overall it doesn't do much for the game. The sound is extremely well done. The music fits the game like a glove, and the sound quality here is excellent. This is definitely one to check out.
Oh.
Next, I've got some RPGs. Well, not strictly RPGs. What do you think? Is this next game an RPG, or is it just an action-adventure? Not that action-adventures are intrinsically worse than RPGs or anything. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds is a popular one. It takes place in the same land as A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. Just hundreds of years later, and who knows how many times you've been reincarnated since then. You somehow have the same house as Link did hundreds of years ago. The game is similar to that, but it's definitely been expanded upon as far as the gameplay goes. You have your basic hack and slash gameplay just like you'd expect. However, this time you get a freeloader at your house who will rent you out all sorts of items. Everyone likes renting. Anyway, I should back up a bit and explain the story. The evil bad guy has been turning everyone into flat paintings. Eventually you fight him and win, but he's not done yet. He turns you into a painting. Well, game over. It's unwinnable. Just turn it off, you're done. But wait! Thanks to you wearing an ancient bracelet, you can switch back and forth to a 2D painting and a real boy at any time. That's this game's gimmick, and it works pretty well. You use this to reach places you can't otherwise get to, and of course the dungeons are all designed to take advantage of this. Clearly the architects of these dungeons knew that someone would come along and take advantage of them like this. Fortunately, turning into 2D is easy to do, but you have a limited amount of 2D juice. If your 2D juice runs out, you turn back into a real boy, and that can be bad if you just happen to be in the wrong place. The bottom screen has your map displayed at all times, which is nice. You also manage your inventory and items here. I really like touching the bell and being able to warp between different weather vanes after you find them. The graphics are very good, but the 3D effect is mostly unnecessary, even though they do their best to try to take advantage of it. The music is good, basic Zelda stuff here. This title starts off a tad slow compared to the Super Nintendo game, but overall it seems to be a great adventure, which I have yet to finish despite owning it since it came out. I recall that it had more to do with me getting sore playing portable games than the quality of this title though. And it's true, my neck and my hands get very sore playing on portable systems. At least my neck isn't an issue now since I had the system modded and I can play it on my TV. This is Fire Emblem Awakening from Intelligent Systems and Nintendo. This is a strategy RPG, and I love these. Move your characters around on a grid based on their abilities, then attack, use items, magic, or whatever else, also based on that particular character's abilities. The results then play out up close and personal. After all of your characters had their turn, the enemy moves all of their pieces in an effort to fell your team. The Fire Emblem series is known for having characters that stay dead forever if they die in battle. But this one gives you an option to revive them if you play in casual mode. There's lots of text dialogue here, even during the battles. The gameplay is very smooth, just like you'd expect. It's tough to make a wrong move accidentally, as you have plenty of chances to back out before you commit. The graphics are extremely well done, and so is the 3D. In fact, I thought a bug was crawling across my screen when it was just actually an ember floating in the game. There are quite a few animated cutscenes, and the 3D effect in these is even done quite well. However, pretty much nobody in the game has any feet. They're all just walking around on stubs. Ouch! The sound and the music are both excellent, but not quite up to Shining Force levels. Still, this is a tremendous game all around if you prefer characters who don't have any feet and you enjoy tactical RPGs. And if you've never played one before, this may make you a fan of the genre. There's also Fire Emblem Fates. This is another good one, and most of the things I said about Awakening can be applied here. However, this one is divided into 3 different titles: Birthright, Conquest, and Revelation. This is Birthright being shown here. Each title takes place showing the point of view of a different character, similar to how Shining Force 3 on the Saturn did it nearly 20 years prior, at least in Japan. The gameplay here is tougher than Fire Emblem Awakening, and the battles feel like they have a slower pace. However, this one also has a mode which is even easier than casual called Phoenix, where the characters who were killed come back quickly during that same battle. Everyone in this game seems to have feet. That kinda kicks ass when you think about it.
I'll protect you.
Then there's
Fire Emblem Warriors.
This one was developed by Omega Force and Team Ninja at Tecmo. This one isn't a strategy RPG, but instead a hack-and-slash action game similar to Koei Tecmo's Dynasty Warriors series. This only works on the new 3DS, so if you have one that's not new, you can go straight to hell. You basically hack your way through tons of enemies, and usually in each area there's a slightly stronger foe or foes that need to be defeated to move on. Sometimes you can switch characters to play as them, and all of the characters have their own moves and special magic. You have control of the camera with the right analog nub on the new 3DS. Mainly the game is spent hacking through endless hordes, and to be frank, it gets a little tiresome sooner than it should. The action is responsive, but it can sometimes feel a bit overbearing as the enemies are always everywhere, even though you often can't see them because they disappear in the draw distance. The bottom screen has a convoluted map, which can be a little helpful. The graphics are great, and it uses the unlimited power exclusive to the new 3DS to show you visuals that you never thought were possible. Just look how many things are on screen. Hell, the entire game runs only in 2D. The music is good while you play, with some cool electric guitars and stuff, but not quite good enough that you'll want to listen to it outside of the game. The voices here are a bit overkill. Everyone needs to shut the hell up.
He's right. Let's finish this together. The path of peace awaits us.
If you go into the options screen, it won't even let you select the voice options. Why is that even here if I can't do anything with it? Fortunately, you can just turn the voice volume all the way down in the volume settings. Overall, this is a decently good game, but not really what I want when I play a Fire Emblem title. Oh, by the way, this one is also on the Switch.
Allies are on their way.
I am Owen, the Dark Swordsman. Why I'm here to help is for me to know.
Join the fray or don't. One more ally won't make much of a difference.
Change of plans. I've received a report.
A more basic strategy RPG is Fragrant Story from Squire. I don't really understand the story in this one. I guess you're fighting on behalf of the plants or something? As I said, this one is extremely basic. Move and attack, and you can stop the wheel before the action happens to affect the outcome. You do this when attacking, or even when an enemy attacks you. The game only runs in 2D, and the bottom screen is turned off completely. The best thing about this one is probably the music. I don't have much more to say about this one. I'm looking directly at you. I can see right into your soul. That's all I came on here to say. Back to the games. This is Pikmin from Arzest and Nintendo. This game plays only in 2D. Yep, even Nintendo themselves got tired of the 3D gimmick along with a large majority of the human population. But this game wouldn't work well in 3D anyway. Why not? Well, this game basically wants to be played as if it existed on the original DS. You use nothing but the stylus and either the circle pad or the D-pad. It uses both screens for a single playfield, just like an old DS game, complete with a blind spot between them. Though the blind spot isn't much of a hindrance in this title. As a result, it wouldn't make much sense if the top screen was in 3D and the bottom in 2D since they're the same playfield. This is probably one of the extremely few 3DS games where the gameplay takes place almost entirely on the bottom screen. You can tap the whistle to call forth Pikmin if they're around. Despite the game's title, you thankfully don't have to literally yell into the microphone to get the Pikmin's attention. I'm really surprised that they didn't do that. You tap the part of the screen that you'd like to fling the Pikmin to and they'll do their thing. Often it's altering part of the landscape in one way or another to help you advance, like smashing a rock or building a stairway for you. You'll also need to defeat animals who want to eat your Pikmin. They are bad and they deserve the death that your Pikmin will give to them. You'll find different types of Pikmin who naturally have different abilities, like these purple ones who can fly. There are lots and lots of things to collect in this game, and in some parts you'll even need a tiny bit of brain power to figure out how to get some of this stuff. Sucks to be you. As you'd expect, the last area of each sector is a boss fight. These are quite enjoyable, just be careful not to lose all of your Pikmin. The visuals here look nice, though the scrolling can be rather stuttery more often than it isn't. The music can sometimes be pretty decent as well. I found this one to be a lot of fun, at least in short bursts. It has a bad reputation on some parts of the internet, but who cares? Nintendo also had a line of 3D Classics games. These were all digital only. The first one I played was Excitebike. And what can I say? It's Excitebike. But now it's in widescreen and you can save your created tracks. Oh, and it's also in 3D! Pretty cool for Excitebike. Then there's Kid Icarus. This one retains the 4:3 aspect ratio, but that makes sense for this game. It gets a new super colorful background which really helps the visuals. I mean, it all used to be just black. This is probably the best way to play this one. Xevious is a pretty interesting conversion. It's widescreen now and it has clouds on the sides of the screen. That's crazy! The 3D effect can be pretty insane, almost to the point of being distracting. But of course, you can always dial it back. The game's still boring though. Next, we have Urban Champion. The 3D effect in this super early one-on-one fighting game isn't awful, but the game itself kind of is. Who wanted this in the modern age? Could be worse, I suppose. Or how about Twin Bee? This one plays like a more advanced version of Xevious. It's in 4x3, but you get curtains on the sides of the screen. The 3D effect isn't quite as crazy as Xevious, and they didn't seem to add anything new besides the 3D effect itself and the curtains. It's okay. Lastly, we have Kirby's Adventure. They didn't try very hard converting this one over. It's still in 4x3 and the 3D effect is quite minimal, even when it's dialed up all the way with the slider and in the option screen. Still, it's not bad if you like your Kirby only slightly enhanced. I wish they had done this 3D thing with some Super Nintendo games, like Super Castlevania 4, that would have been awesome. This is Chibi-Robo Ziplash, the final game ever released in the series so far. Once again, you control Chibi-Robo, but instead of cleaning up the house of some family, you're saving the world from aliens. The game is now a side-scrolling action platformer where you use your electrical plug as a weapon. This game is okay. Your cord can be powered up a bit so that you can throw it further. Weirdly, the game demands that you handle this with 2 different buttons. I really do wish the game would let me remap the controls. You can attach to orange things to pull yourself up to that spot. You collect coins, orbs, and other things. You even get to collect a bit of trash because, well, this is Chibi-Robo after all. Back at your ship, you can buy power-ups like extra batteries just in case you run out. Speaking of which, you can recharge at certain points during each stage, but it can be tough to get low on power as enemies drop quite a bit of it. The stages are long and, while they're not awful, they're kind of plain and can get a little boring. There are some other styles of stages to change things up, like this one where you're being carried by some balloons. The control on this one takes some getting used to, that's for sure. Between the stages, you have a destination wheel that you spin which determines what stage you go to next. Why? What's wrong with progressing normally? The graphics are very basic, but not entirely unpleasant. I found the 3D effect in this one to be pretty worthless. The sound and music are fine, not really anything special, just like the graphics. I'm not sure why they chose an action game for Chibi's 3DS entry, but it's very middle of the road for me. I'll probably never even think about this one again. One of the more ballyhoo titles for the system is Kid Icarus Uprising. I think that was mainly because Kid Icarus had been dormant since the NES days. This one is kind of interesting. It starts out as an on-rail shooter. You move Kid Icarus around with the circle pad. You then use the stylus on the bottom screen to control his aim as he fires, even though all of the action has taken place on the top screen. It's a weird setup, but it kind of works well enough, I suppose. You can only fly for 5 minutes and then you have to land and continue on foot. This is where I feel that the game kind of falls apart. You still control your aim with the stylus, but also the camera as well. It's playable, but it feels very awkward. They don't want you to have too much fun with the flying segments, that's very apparent. It reminds me of Nintendo's attitude towards Star Fox. The majority of the game is played on the ground, but this is Icarus as a kid, so yeah. You have melee attacks that you'll need to use to defeat the bigger enemies. The goddess is your radio buddy, and boy oh boy does she have a lot to say. So do you though.
You don't watch out, we'll be having barbecued angel tonight. And those spicy angel wings sound tasty. I'd best get you out of there.
Plus, chicken is much more economical!
The graphics are excellent with some outstanding lighting and effects. Some of the enemies are a little silly looking. The 3D effect is fine. I think I could probably take it or leave it. The best part of this one, though, is definitely the music.
How in the world would the human army make it across these mountains by foot?
It features a ton of excellent composers because none of them could be bothered to do the entire thing, I guess. Having game soundtracks done in this manner is actually not that uncommon. I don't dislike this game as much as you probably think I do. It's just I wish they had made it less awkward. I find it interesting how they handled the gameplay and implemented both screens at all times. I think it's worth renting from one of the many local video stores in your area next weekend to see if you like it.
This is never going to end. Just go ahead and attack.
Everyone, shut up and focus!
This is Adventure Time. Hey Ice King, why'd you steal our garbage? From Way Forward. I've never seen the TV show that this is based on, but I remember buying this game back in the day based on recommendations on the internet. I must not have played this one much because I barely remember this game and the save file that's on here didn't have much time on it. But this one is really good. You play as Finn and his gooey dog, I guess he is, and his name is Jake. As you may have surmised by the game's subtitle, the Ice King has stolen your garbage. This is apparently a bad thing in this world, as your house and the land has trash strewn everywhere. They love it. I wouldn't want my kids watching this show, they'd never clean their rooms. You wander around an overhead map, and for some reason, this is the only thing I remember from back in 2012 when this came out. Too busy trying to make GameSack on YouTube a thing, I guess. You enter areas, and then it's a side-scrolling action platformer. You attack with your fists and later use weapons. Jake lives in your backpack, and you can attack with a longer reach using him, but the attack is much weaker. You collect lots and lots of items as you deal with the enemies. You manage and use all of this with the touchscreen. You can restore your health and give yourself temporary power-ups and all sorts of stuff. For example, using the wings so you can jump higher. Check this out, I totally avoided those enemies. You can even combine items, like adding condiments to food to make them have even more effective healing powers. Yes, you can even add ketchup to pancakes, but you probably want to be careful as it may not have the effect that you want. You wander around solving mysteries for everyone else and doing fetch quests for them. Sometimes on the map you're attacked randomly by a shadowy figure. You'll have to fight a few monsters inside a small stage and get a treasure. You get new abilities to advance to new areas, and it all works pretty well. The graphics are nice with many layers of scrolling. Everything looks colorful and clean. Well, except for all of the trash in some areas. The 3D looks fine, but I prefer keeping it off. Most of the music is excellent. It's done by Jake Kaufman, who used to do music for a lot of the Way Forward games. He's less prolific these days. I wonder if his asking price went up. I'm glad that this episode gave me a reason to try this game again and actually get into it. It's quite fun, even if I have no idea who all of these wacky-ass characters are. And there you go, that's the 3DS for you. Nintendo then of course introduced the Switch to take care of both the home console market and the portable market in one go, killing two birds with one stone. But what are your opinions on the Nintendo 3DS, and what are some of your favorite games for it? And do you prefer a dedicated handheld, or do you prefer the Switch approach? Let me know. In the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. 3D. Feel it. So much depth. 3D. Feel it. So much depth. 3D. Feel it. So much depth. 3D. Feel it. So much depth.
3D. Feel it.
So much depth.